Hello, folks. Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here for another direct to YouTube special. Today we're going to be playing a show and tell deck, but not your mama's show and tell deck. Now, with show and tell, or maybe more accurately, sneak and show, the idea is to use one of show and tell or sneak attack to put in a giant dumb creature into play, like Grizzlebrand or Emrakul, that often effectively wins the game on the spot. Now, what makes this deck special and why did I want to try it out? Well, this deck also has everyone's favorite merfolk, sorry, true name Nemesis, Hullbreacher. If an opponent would draw a card except for the first one they draw in each of their draw steps, instead you create a treasure token. And Day's Undoing. Each player shuffles their hand and graveyard into their library, then draws 7 cards. If it's your turn, end the turn. So the idea is you have a Hullbreacher out, and then you cast Day's Undoing, and you get 7 cards and 7 additional treasure tokens that you can use to cast stuff. And your opponent gets Mind Twisted. Sweet. So this is an A plus B combo deck where you have multiple A plus B combos. You can have Show and Tell and Grizzlebrand, Show and Tell Emrakul, Sneak Attack Grizzlebrand, Sneak Attack Emrakul, or Hullbreacher Day's Undoing. Now, if you get real saucy, you can sneak attack in a Hullbreacher, but that's an advanced play. We might have to save that one for a little bit later. As far as the sideboard goes, there's nothing too fancy there. We have Progenitus as a nice show and tell target that's really hard to take off the table for something like, say, a snow deck. Otherwise, we just have a fair amount of assorted interaction and one alternate way of cheating the fatties into play. Let's jump in a league and see how this deck does, but before we do, please consider liking this video if you've been enjoying my legacy content, and if you're not subscribed already, please consider subscribing. Gotta beat Brian to 3,000. It's a race. Now, obviously Brian doesn't know it's a race, but we're gonna see if we can win the race nevertheless. Alright, our first opening hand is not really good. We have 3 mana and a Day's Undoing, but I don't know that we just want to cast one of those without a Hullbreacher in a lot of scenarios. And I have 2 creatures and no cantrips. I'm going to go ahead and mulligan this one. 1, 2, 3 mana, 4 mana, and an Emrakul. Alright, we're going to keep this. Goodbye, Force of Will. I don't have a blue card to pair with you. I do not believe that I want to play Lotus Petal on turn 1. There's some fringe scenarios where I do. But they involve like a Chalice on 0 or a turn 1 Thalia. Oh! Oh god, cast Show and Tell. I don't know what deck my opponent is playing yet, which is problematic. It could be Show and Tell. They could be Red Prison. They could be a Bomberman style deck. They could be an Urza deck. I think I just need to cast this and go for destroy your board in 15 you next turn. My opponent is a Show and Tell deck and they cast their own Show and Tell. It's very good for me, but they couldn't cast a Show and Tell last turn. Oh, okay, so they are an Urza deck. Oh, we are getting some juicy permanents here. Alright, Narset very good against my Day's Undoing. Oh no, please don't do it. Fuck! My opponent is trying to do something very similar to what I'm doing. Only they got to act first, and they got rid of my 15/15 tentacle monster that was going to 6 for 1 them and put them to 3 life. So fair. Top deck an Emrakul like a boss. Would accept Grizzlebrand. Hullbreacher, honestly, not the end of the world either. Alright, Storm is 7. Okay. Opponent doesn't have much of a way to kill me yet, but they get to dig for some other broken thing with Narset. Alright, all they found is an Urza's Bobble. Good news for Phil fans. The bad news is, like, I really need to Yu-Gi-Oh! Heart of the Cards naturally draw one of my big fatties. Preferably just Emrakul, but my opponent can sacrifice like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and still have a clock on board as well as a hate piece. So until they tap this Ancient Tomb 2 more times, Emrakul isn't really presenting lethal. And honestly, Ancient Tomb might get just sacrificed. Yu-Gi-Oh! Fuck. No, no! Alright, do I just, I don't throw in the towel. I'm playing Emrakul in my deck. Oh, my opponent has so many permanents here. Okay. I think I lose to that. I assume this is just going to get Sorcerer Spyglass off my sneak attack, and then I have no outs. I'll just get Hullbreacher beaten to death before I can do anything. Alright, a bit of a rough start. But hopefully we can just go fast and combo them, and life will be good. What do I like here? I don't really like Days Undoing since my opponent has both Hullbreachers and Narsets, so I think I want those to come out. I will probably keep my own Hullbreachers as sort of hate bearers for what my opponent is doing. Probably want Pyroblasts. And then I'm thinking about Abrade, Arcane Artisan, and Progenitus after this. It's possible I should just like board out my Hullbreachers, but having the ability to unexpectedly flash one of those in response to one of my opponent's draw 7s is disgusting, so I think I'm going to keep them. I think I'm going to board in the Abrades. It's possible I should go -4 Hullbreacher for 2 Arcane Artisans and 2 Progenitus. Or potentially cut Grizzlebrand or Progenitus, since the draw 7 side of it is considerably worse than normal. Alright, I think I keep this hand? I have turn 2 Hullbreacher shenanigans for some of my opponent's most broken stuff, and I have a Force of Will and an easily pitchable card to stop a lot of my opponent's absolutely best draws. You get forced. You're good, but I don't think you get forced. Yeah, like, Bobble is totally fine when I have a Hullbreacher of my own. I'm gonna do something that might look a little funny. I'm gonna go ahead and brainstorm here, because if I find Show and Tell, it is disgustingly good. Alright, I'm gonna put back Ancient Tomb and Brainstorm. I will redraw the Brainstorm. I don't really want the second Ancient Tomb, but I do want to have access to Hullbreacher this turn. So I think that just means Ancient Tomb pass. And then in a future turn, I can Brainstorm, fetch with Scalding Tarn, and then play a 3-drop. Alright. What do you got for me? That's a Hullbreacher. Do I let it resolve? I don't think I let that resolve. When I have a Brainstorm that I want to be casting. Alright, yeah, so they can look at that land all they want. So this gives me a treasure from their bauble, which is sick. Now we will Brainstorm and look for a Show and Tell. Oh baby, we found it. This is actually quite good. I'm gonna do this pre-combat to see if anything makes me want to not attack with this Hullbreacher. Have red elemental blast up due to the treasure token. Do I blast that? It's obviously good. Gives my opponent effectively 3 more mana, kind of. I don't think I blast that though. Alright, so I missed out on a couple points of damage by not attacking with the Hullbreacher. Oh, I maybe should have drawn at sorcery speed because of my opponent's own Hullbreachers. I'm not used to that. I don't like that. I think what I'm going to do is draw 7 in response. That seems like an okay thing to go ahead and red elemental blast. And my opponent has conceded. Excellent. The next turn, we were going to cast a Ponder to look for an Emrakul to finish things on the spot. Actually, is Grafdigger's Cage good? So Grafdigger's Cage can shut off Echo from Graveyard as well as Emery shenanigans. That's not bad. I could slow down my combo a tiny bit by boarding out Simian Spirit Guides in order to bring in a couple more hate cards when I'm on the draw. I don't hate it, but I also don't love it. Go ahead and do it. Decreases the percentage of games that are just non-games because my opponent does their thing and I don't. Okay. I don't think I get to keep the Grafdigger's Cage Lotus Petal no lands hand. This is a pretty good 6-card hand. With 1 mana source, I have Show and Tell for Emrakul. I will be keeping this and pitching 1 Emrakul. Unfortunately, we are defenseless on turn 1 and probably turn 2 as well. If our opponent has the nuts, they get to do their thing. All right. My opponent gets an extra card a turn from Urza's Bauble. Before I can get Hullbreachered, I am going to go ahead and cast Ponder. Oh, we go now? Take Ancient Tomb, cast Lotus Petal, Show and Tell, put in Emrakul. That seems fine. I was not planning on going this turn, but it looks like it's happening. Oh, right, I already played my land. Next turn, though. Next turn is fine. Sorry, mental brain fart there. All right. How bad is it for me? Let's find out. Feels like Karn. It is Karn. So my Lotus Petal is now off. They have just gotten Liquimetal Coating, which I don't know that that's their best option. All right. We have done the thing we came here to do. We'll see if it's good enough. My opponent probably just gets to minus Karn again, play land, get Ensnaring Bridge, and then my Emrakul doesn't do a lot. Flash, though. Ooh, Force of Will, very good as their last two cards there. Now they get to keep their Emery engine. So, sort of interestingly, I could have put in Grizzlebrand over the Emrakul, but if they have a Hullbreacher or Narset effect, my Grizzlebrand ends up being quite bad. Like, borderline no text bad. I need to work towards a Braid. That's what gets me out of this situation. I have two of them, and they are in the deck. I'll need to have, like, land plus a Braid, blow up Ensnaring Bridge. Once my opponent gets another Breacher or threat of some kind into play, this is quite bad for me. I mean, it's already pretty bad. But until they have something else that matters, I don't really need to concede. As soon as they do, like as soon as an Urza or equivalent hits play, I can't really win. And that's because they just bury me in card advantage. Like, they're already doing that, but if they, like, bury me in card advantage and then, like, do anything else, I think it's the end. Alright, that doesn't really do anything right now. The other out is that they get up to 15 cards in hand and have Reliquary Tower. So there's that. Alright, I think I will go ahead and scoop to the Urza there in order to save time. I feel like that is going to comfortably beat me, given the huge mana boost that is. My opponent also could have, like, gotten Mycosynth at any time. Round two's opening hand looks pretty solid. We have a Show and Tell with a Grizzlebrand. This Ponder's a little weird in that, like, theoretically, in a lot of these spots, you want to find protection once you already have the combo. But if we find protection, the card that I pitch to it most of the time is Show and Tell, which would mean that I don't go off until really turn 5, because I'd play Sneak Attack naked, and then Grizzlebrand afterwards. I don't want this. I guess I'm fine with drawing both of these other two cards. We're going to take the land to hand on the off chance that our opponent is playing discard, and they might take our creature not knowing that I have another. Elves. Okay, it could be any number of Green Sun decks. Could be Elves, could be Nick Fit, could be Maverick. So Day's Undoing is my top card. I definitely do not want that. If this is Maverick and they have Aven Mind Sensor, let's play around that because I have the luxury too. What you got? Alright, we are playing against elves. So, Show and Tell for Emrakul isn't a guaranteed win. My opponent has a fair amount of mana already next turn, and I'm gonna loop one more permanent into play. That's fine. Expect this to be like an Elvish Visionary with this pattern. Oh, okay. Oh, that's really awkward. If I would have played Volcanic Island last turn and not fetched, I could have Emrakul'd this turn. That's not where I'm at. There is a world... No, there's not a world. I was gonna say, there is a world where I just do something else this turn and then, like, sneak attack in the creatures next turn. I can't double activate next turn if I, like, plan on show and telling in sneak attack. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and cast the show and tell now. There's some world where this ramps my opponent by 1 and results in my death. But in every other world, I win the game. So my opponent would need an absolutely insane Glimpse Chain or Natural Order this turn. They have 3 mana on board. Okay. Here is the start of something that could beat me. We will need a Heritage Druid to really fire things off. There's actually some worlds where if they had this Glimpse in hand already, it wasn't actually correct to put in the Nettle Sentinel. That's sort of interesting. So they can use the new Quirion Ranger to bounce their forest and untap Dryad Arbor and get 1 more draw. But that 1 more draw needs to... yeah. It would need to be Heritage Druid specifically, I think, in order for them to have a realistic chance at winning from there. Man, naturally having Hullbreachers for this matchup is kind of sweet. Just stop the Glimpse as well as the Elvish Visionary, Wirewood Symbiote shenanigans. I don't know that I want a Daze Undoing in this matchup. I think I like Pyroclasm, even though it kills my own Hullbreachers. Like the X for 1 idea is pretty strong. I think I like Arcane Artisan over Sneak Attack because passing the turn after casting a Sneak Attack is an invitation for a Green Sun or an Artifact or Enchantment Destroyer to get rid of this. I think I like this substitution. And then I think I like 2 of Grafdigger's Cage or a Braid. Cage. Hullbreacher plus Cage together is pretty cool. I think I like this configuration. There's worlds where I could play a Braid, but I don't know that it is correct to. Ooh, awkward opening hand. I have 4 mana turn 1, which can cast Arcane Artisan, but I don't actually have the blue source I need in order to activate it. I get 2 natural draws in order to find that, or I could use Lotus Petal for a Ponder on turn 1. I think I keep this, but I lose some portion of the time for keeping this. I have so much mana. Where's my blue spirit guide, though? Don't print that. Let's do this. Let's play it safe. Yeah, this is fine. Of this, I don't want the redundant Grizzlebrand. So let's bottom that. Take Flooded Strand this turn. Do I ponder? What is Ponder looking for? I don't know what Ponder is looking for. But I also don't know when else I will cast this Ponder this game. Like, I'm going to cast Arcane Artisan, and then I'm going to activate Arcane Artisan, and then hopefully the game ends. Oh, Sneak Attack. Take Ancient Tomb plus Sneak Attack, and try to just literally win the game next turn. I like that a lot. Sneak Attack just ends up being faster than Arcane Artisan, which is not usually going to be the case. But because we have an Ancient Tomb double Spirit Guide hand, it's the case this time around. Alright, great. We're not looking at Glimpse this turn, which is one of the things that would scare me. I mean, this is good, but it is not death for me, and that's what I care about. I will go ahead and draw 7 here on the off chance that I hit both Emrakul and Petal. I did not. So close to greatness here. So close to greatness. Ah, shit, I could have drawn 7 more. I could have just, like, YOLO no feared that. I probably should have done that. Yeah, I should have done that. I don't know, missing is really bad. And I have 3 Lotus Petals to hit. Ah, maybe I was right. This is probably fine. I think I'll discard both Ancient Tombs. I don't know, maybe since I didn't find a Force of Will in that, I should have drawn again. This is the punish if my opponent goes off. Like maybe against an opposing combo deck. Even one that can pressure your life total. It's okay. If I draw the other 7, though, I'm more likely dead to an Allosaurus Shepherd activation in the next turn cycle. Yeah, maybe with only one blue/red source in play, my cantrips get a little more awkward. We're drawing 2 Spirit Guides and 1 Lotus Petal. So that I get this initial burst of acceleration, but then don't have that many persistent mana sources for my follow-up turn. I don't know if I played that my own turn cycle correctly. Alright, how to play the turn. I want to be able to go off in this turn cycle. Then I want to ponder, because finding a creature is really what I want to be doing. So I think I'm going to go ahead and start there. It means that I don't have the luxury of, like, Brainstorm Fetch Land to do exactly the thing that I'm looking to do. Okay, I found a Grizzlebrand. Which I guess I will go ahead and take. We'll go red. We'll activate that. Put in the Grizzlebrand. Let's draw 7. I think. Try to find one of 3 Lotus Petals. And Emrakul. Alright, there's the Emrakul, but no petal to go with it. It's okay. Like, I have the win next turn as long as I don't die. I'm at 12. That's okay. Not great, just okay. No Force of Will effect. So, like, a natural Allosaurus Shepherd activation might beat me. I have a ton of redundant brainstorms. I have one redundant show and tell. Arcane Artisan is a little slow at this point. Another show and tell. Okay. Let's see if we get there. Opponent only needs 4 more points of theoretical hasty damage. We have shut off Natural Order and Green Sun, though. Well, it's at 3, but I don't think we're going to get to sneak in Hullbreacher and attack with it to kill them. Oh no, it's Allosaurus Shepherd. 6. Yeah, so this is exactly the thing that I was afraid of. So they activate that, and these 2 become 5/5s. And I die. Alright. Show me that you know how your card works, and I will right-click concede. Actually, I guess I will just allow the combat damage to kill me. My opponent has earned that much. Narrow margins there as far as life total goes. My opponent attacked for 12. I'm at 10. My Ancient Tomb being tapped, that one. Well, I guess that's not true. Because, if I had tapped Ancient Tomb 1 fewer time, I still go to 0 exactly. Right. I still think I like having the Hullbreachers around as something that stops Glimpse of Nature. I don't necessarily think I played that game optimally. But that's okay. I feel like I like the tools that are at my disposal. And we've sent our opponent back to sideboarding. So this clock is ticking up, right? That means that our opponent is actively thinking about how they sideboarded and are questioning some of their decisions. Or they had to get a pizza out of the oven in between rounds. You never know. So in both of our rounds so far, we have sideboarded out the Day's Undoing, which is kind of doing the thing, and was one of the reasons that I was excited to try out this list. I wonder if I am being a little too cowardly with it, and I should be keeping it in because it's so powerful. Yes. Interesting. Very interesting. Do I keep the hand that can produce a turn 1 Hullbreacher but has nothing else? I think the answer is no. But it's neat. Guess I keep this one. Sounds awkward because the Force of Will isn't very good and probably gets shuffled back. This is a hand where I'm looking to assemble Show and Tell specifically for turn 3. Oh, I probably need to Brainstorm in response to that. The Brainstorm is my most valuable card. Now this Ponder is my most valuable card. Followed by Grizzlebrand. I will let them think that they need to maybe take this Grizzlebrand, when in reality, I'm perfectly happy with, like, this card going. Surgical extraction, shuffle your library, ha 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 ha. That would be savage. Alright, so I know that the card on top of my library is Grizzlebrand, and I kind of want that. I'm going to go ahead and ponder, but the hope is that I don't have to shuffle here. That I just, like, find both things that I'm looking for. I did not. I will take the Grizzlebrand from this. And we'll fetch that away, hope to find a sneak attack or show and tell, or honestly, we'll settle for pretty much anything other than a counterspell or land. This pause shows me that my opponent has multiple lines available to them, and it's not straightforward. So they could be thinking about using a discard spell on me, or they could have a green sun, and they're trying to figure out what it is that they need to get. Ah. So they might have a 2-mana play available, but they've opted to put Allosaurus Shepherd in first this turn because they know about my Force of Will. Now I have no idea what they're pausing about. The naked Hullbreacher hand would not have been particularly good with what's going on, against what's going on the other side of the table. Show and tell. Acceptable? Acceptable. So this is a 2-for-1, but it also takes them off of 2 mana. Which I think means it's just worth firing this off now and not taking the chance that I could just die next turn to something like a natural order. Sneak attack off the top can now put in Grizzlebrand. This represents Dryad Arbor, which turns Gaia's Cradle back into a mana-producing land. Although opponent might end up just fetching a Bayou to play something like an Elvish Visionary. Nope, okay, so they're going with new Allosaurus Shepherd. New Allosaurus Shepherd. I don't hate that. Now I have hardcast Force of Will, which is going to be great. We also might get to eat something in combat. Would just be gross. And be countered. Natural order is now on the table, which can't be countered. We can counter a Thoughtseize, though. Oh man, my opponent played around Hullbreacher. Smart. Oh yeah. That's good. I needed that. I'm terrified of Allosaurus Shepherd, so I think I'm going to be drawing 14 here. Pyroclasm's pretty good. Can't cast it yet. Let's draw another 7. Okay. I can cast a Ponder and try to look for something that ends the game. I guess that's Emrakul. I can Ponder and look at 3 more cards. Then attack for 10 if I miss. Then go double paddle or paddle spirit guide. Alright, let's dig. Ah, there's Emrakul. There you are, little buddy. Sneak attack. It's Emrakul. The sneak attack off the top was great, but that was something that I had been playing towards for a couple of turns. So, no surprise that it had intended results. Got there. Our opening hand for round 3 is pretty strong here. We have a turn 2 show and tell, and I have Force of Will pitching Hullbreacher as something that I can do in the meantime. Or we can do that thing, depending on how things develop. Alright, so my opponent is a Dark Depths deck of some kind, it seems. There are worlds where things can get a little weird here, but I think I'm going to be safe with Force of Will available. Well! Interesting. Okay, so they're not Depths, they're Dead Guy Ale. I don't know that I want to actually draw 7 this turn. I think I'll just pass. I have Force of Will available, so I can answer something that kills the Grizzlebrand. Or Dark Ritual resolves. No, that doesn't get to resolve. I think I will go ahead and draw 7 at this spot, though. The cards that I have in hand are at least somewhat valuable. Now, there could be a second answer to Grizzlebrand coming. This becomes awkward if I don't hit a Force of Will. Okay, we hit a Force of Will. Good. I'm sorry, opponent. You came here to have a good time. And I played a 7/7 life-linking demon on turn 2, and then forced your 2 small boxes. I'm the bully this round. Okay, so my opponent could be the Dead Guy Ale style deck that I played, or they could actually just be a Pox deck that's playing Opposition Agent. Either way, I don't think we sideboard much against them. Like, I can be thinking about Abrades, Pyroclasms, and Flusterstorms, but my general plan of, like, cast something that's broken and a second thing that's broken is pretty good. I don't know that I sideboard. Flusterstorm's kind of cool. No sideboard. No sideboard. Good fair fight. Possible that I should Flusterstorm or Pyroclasm. This hand doesn't actually do anything. It has a billion mana, but no show and tell target and no cantrips. Yeah. Hand's pretty weak. Begrudging keep. But because of the presence of Hymn to Turok specifically as a turn 1 play off of Dark Ritual, I probably want to keep this so that I just don't go down to too few cards in hand. I lose Ponder here, and then I have nothing. But fair. So now I just have to win the game with Grizzlebrand or Hullbreachers instead. I understand why my opponent made the play that they did, but I'm very happy to still have Ponder in my hand. Oh, holy fuck. I just like YOLO play that. But I think I'm just gonna cast Ponder. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. How do I do this? No Covered Island is going on bottom. That's the least valuable card here. I think I leave Hullbreacher on top of my library and put Sneak Attack in hand. So all this is awkward because, like, I know my opponent plays Surgical Extraction. So it's possible that putting the Hullbreacher into my hand currently is just better. But, like, I have not only Surgicals to think about, I also have Thoughtseizes and Hymns to think about. And with the exception of both Ancient Tomb and Volcanic Island getting hit at the same time, I don't too much care about what my opponent does this turn. Okay, so that's going to name Sneak Attack. Or it could name Grizzlebrand. Then I can't draw after putting one in play. Yep, okay, that's reasonable. I think I want to play Hullbreacher in this turn cycle and Days Undoing in the next. Not the best for me. I would like Days Undoing to survive, please. Damn. Surgical Extraction on Days Undoing now. My opponent is at 14. And they have just shuffled the dead draw away that was on top of my library. How do I want to do this turn? Bulk pass. I could just Flooded Strand and take another land out of my deck immediately and then not have to think about Opposition Agent. I don't think I'm going to do that. Maybe I should have played Bulk, though, because they don't know about the Flooded Strand. Now I'm not bluffing Force of Will this turn. I'm going to go ahead and fetch with one of these now. I do need to be thinking about Opposition Agent, and I want another Volcanic Island in play. I will cast this now. There's plenty of things that I could want to do at sorcery speed. None of that. I'll keep show and tell for Grizzlebrand, I suppose, because, like, lands aren't doing me much good. Go ahead and go to my opponent's turn. I do have, like, Dark Ritual Opposition Agent is a thing that could happen right here. Did not happen. Alright, Dark Ritual has happened. That's pretty good. That pretty much has to minus and kill the Hullbreacher. I want to preserve my show and tell, so I won't play Ancient Tomb this turn. I don't think my opponent should have played Wasteland prior to activating Lily. It gave me more information about what to keep. Okay, I'm not searching with that. So I think that's suboptimal timing for that. I could cast a Simian Spirit Guide. I don't think that's particularly great. Again, we'll use Flooded Strand to protect show and tell. Now I get clocked pretty quickly. Yeah. This is essentially a one-turn clock remaining. It's not literally because, like, Ancient Tomb is a thing, but effectively getting hit for 6 twice should end this. My opponent should wasteland my volcanic island here. Awkward. I can show and tell in a Grizzlebrand and hope that my opponent doesn't Edict. Believe that is my line. I can't actually draw cards because I'm at 7. Also, there's Pithing Needle. Alright, let's go to the next game. I still don't know that I'm supposed to sideboard. Like, unless Opposition Agent comes down hyper early, I'm not really that worried about it. Days Undoing as an out to just piles and piles and piles of discard seems great. I think I just keep the deck as is. Flusterstorm's a little more attractive on the play, but maybe Flusterstorm's good enough for, like, taking Smallpox into consideration. I don't too much care about a lot of their discard. Yeah, this hand is fine. I'll be looking to ponder for Force of Will on turn 1. Show and Tell also acceptable. Is this fine? This is probably fine. This puts a sneak attack into play on turn 2 and Emrakul's on turn 3. And it does all of that without fetching here, which plays around Dark Ritual Opposition Agent. I guess Dark Ritual Opposition Agent is still slightly a problem. Try to find natural red source with this Ponder. Yeah. I like this so that I don't have to fetch. Or actually, maybe I do fetch. Because if they cast Dark Ritual into Opposition Agent, they don't have mana for an Edict anymore, and then I probably win. Yeah, let's go ahead and fetch. Oh. Okay. Do I play patiently and wait? I can just like Daze Undoing and find another creature. I will make you have the instant speed edict. Or you lose. Okay. They did have it, that's fine. So this shuffles away the bad cards that I left on top of my library. Okay, that's all fine. Losing the Daze Undoing would be a little bit annoying for me. But it doesn't feel like they have targeted discard. Oh, that's good. How am I beating that? Didn't board in a braid. We'll figure that out. Yeah, I don't exactly know how I went through that. Should have boarded in one a braid. Days Undoing ends a turn, so I can't use that to give my opponent 7 cards and then attack in and repeat that cycle a few times. Yeah, I think I just lose to Ensnaring Bridge with this configuration. Like, I can take all my opponent's cards, I can make a whole bunch of mana. Alright. I have to, like, win via, like, Simian Spirit Guide beats or something. Put a Hullbreacher into play. I can go to 1 to cast a Spirit Guide. Die to a Smallpox. That's fine. I'm okay with dying to a Smallpox. Specifically because it will mean that this match is over, which I think I have. Like I don't know, 5% might be generous. I have a very low percentage chance of actually winning this game. These Force of Wills also aren't live. I also kind of can't cast Days Undoing, or it sets my opponent to 0 cards. And then I can never get out of Ensnaring Bridge. I need them to just have a whole bunch of fat in hand that they can't cast. All right, I think I'm going to pack this one up. It's just like not going to be a fun game to play out. Let's call it here. All right, my opening hand is a little weak here. I'm going to go ahead and keep. My opponent used a decent amount of their clock thinking about their mulligan decision. I'm not exactly sure what that says. Oh, okay, they're playing curses, it looks like. So I'm looking for another land and a show and tell. Oh, baby. I have Force of Will, Pitch Days Undoing for anything that my opponent does that I actually care about. But those should be few and far between. I probably have to force like a Karn, Palaka Predation, or an opposition agent. Yeah, that can just resolve. We'll put in Emrakul. And unless my opponent has like Ensnaring Bridge in hand. God damn it. Okay, my opponent is slow at clicking through this. I'm just conceding. So in case you're not familiar with this combo, Leyline of the Void plus Helm of Obedience mills out your entire deck. And because these cards are going to exile, my Emrakuls in the deck don't save me. That's super unfortunate. I'm going to be keeping Abrades as an answer to mostly Chalice of the Void, but some other fringe things like Ensnaring Bridge that could be got off a Karn. There's some worlds where I want to consider Progenitus or Arcane Artisan, but I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to trim on the Days Undoing stuff. I don't know that I'm going to cut it, because it's a good way to just look at a whole bunch of cards if I get Chalice locked, just like draw another entirely new hand, and then that's 7 more looks at a show and tell or sneak attack. But I think most of the time that we put in Emrakul on turn 2 with Force of Will backup, we win. But that sort of thing happens. I don't know how I'm feeling about this deck so far. Like, the Hullbreachers have felt fine, and I'm happy to have access to that. But I'm not sure that we've actually done the thing yet and assembled Hullbreacher plus Days Undoing in a time when it was meaningful. Keep. I really need multiple lands to make this hand work. Is this better than 6? Like, it has a thing that it can do, and it can do it on turn 2 if I find an Ancient Tomb. I guess. Well, I guess it can't do it on turn 2. It does it on turn 3. Alright, now I have another land and a potential answer to Chalice. That is now active. This is fine. I'll draw the Brainstorm and use that to sculpt accordingly. I don't know why my opponent is manually clicking through all of the stops on my turn. Curses is a deck that's pretty fast to pilot most of the time. Opposition Agent gets me good in this turn cycle. Put back a Grizzlebrand and 1 Hullbreacher. Play Misty and pass the turn. My opponent was just F6'd there. So I'm going to go ahead and just take this opportunity to fetch. While I know they don't have Opposition Agent. Show and tell is a little awkward because the same sort of thing can happen before. Or I might just die to my opponent just having the whole combo here. Well, that's resolving. Classic. I think I'm just losing to that now. I got stuck on lands. My opponent is going to get the Overwhelming Splendor that turns all my creatures into 1/1s. Also going to stop me from fetching. And then they're going to get Cruel Reality and I'll die in 4 turns. Please. Let's go. I want to record next round. There is a world where Overwhelming Splendor is in their hand and then things are okay for me. But it doesn't look like that's this world. I can't take Overwhelming Splendor off the table. I don't have something like a Brazen Borrower. Okay. You have like another Trinosphere? Nope, just wanted a swamp in play. All right, I am conceding for YouTube entertainment value. My opponent is playing really slowly and something that should be really straightforward. And I don't think I want to waste 5 more minutes of this video waiting for my opponent to click through their stuff. Overwhelming Splendor somehow ended up in the graveyard there. Oh, I guess I leave the game and then it goes to the graveyard. Neat. For the final round here, I have a hand that's a little bit rough around the edges because I have this Brainstorm, which can save this hand from being bad, but it's also my only thing that I have to pitch to Force of Will. I'm going to go ahead and keep this, but this hand is slightly awkward in that if I have to use the Force of Will, you're on tomorrow's video. Opponent said, "Oh wow, absolutely love your content. Huge fan. It's an honor to play you." So, hello, Gandalf from the past, who is now Gandalf of the present by the time that you actually get around to watching this video. Good luck. Okay. So we get a repeat of round 1. Shoot. I probably need to cast this Brainstorm. How do I play this game? I think Lotus Petal is the worst thing here. The real question is, like, do I Force of Will? If I Force of Will, I Force of Will pitching Ponder, and I don't have any 1-drops. Actually kind of interesting. I'm going to put back these two. I'm sort of inclined to just let this resolve and try to win a game off of Hullbreacher. Which I think I want to have the ability to put into play next turn. Or sorry, this turn. I'm not going to fetch away that Lotus Petal. I'm going to keep it around. Which probably means that I should have buried the Volcanic 3 down. Instead of the Lotus Petal, because then I could play around a theoretical Daze. Not that I'm, like, super expecting that. Oh, is this a... No? You might be playing some sort of pseudo-mirror here. They might be the, another, like, Hullbreacher Days Undoing deck. Well, no. I would like to be the only person with a fish. Two more lotus petals and we could, sorry, three more lotus petals and we could start thinking about Grizzlebrand. Oh, okay. So this is now problematic that a Chalice of the Void is in play, because this is a 1/4, so that means my Hullbreacher can't attack anymore. But Sai's ability of sacrificing 2 artifacts to draw a card doesn't look too hot. Alright, we're a little bit of mana away from making this Emrakul work. Strap in, folks. Round 5 is the long one this time. I see. My opponent has a Hullbreacher of their own. That is inconvenient for me, because theirs can attack and mine can't. I could trade Hullbreachers with them, but I think that greatly favors my opponent. Alright, I'm not gonna think about what happens here. I'm just gonna let it happen. Alright, everyone gets treasures. Okay, so I think this is actually good for me. Now I can draw like a Grizzlebrand or Emrakul and just hardcast it. I have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I can almost hardcast Emrakul. Do I make it? Hmm. What if their Hullbreacher attacks and I trade Hullbreachers with them? And then I Daze Undoing? With the amount of mana that I have, I do dumb things. Alright. We're not just gonna convert this into 7 mana right now. We're just gonna chill. Have a good time. This game is weird. Alright, Chalice of the Void on 2 resolves. Don't think that hits any cards that are in my main deck. One, 8. Like, realistically, I might cast an Emrakul this game. I think I'm going to take 2 points of damage in order to put Sneak Attack into play. That, actually, what if I Sneak Attack and then cast another Daze Undoing as a ramp spell? Then I can actually hard cast an Emrakul. One, two, three, four. Leaves me with 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, plus 7, 18. Okay. Alright. I don't know whether or not they would leave back a Thopter to block a sneak attack in Emrakul. I don't know whether or not that's a world I need to be, like, playing towards beating. Alright, if I use 3 of these, I have 3 remaining, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, plus 7, 16, so we're still good there. What is this game? My opponent could generate a very, very, very large Urza token, by the way. The only thing you can do is activate Sai's ability. That doesn't draw you a card. That gives me a treasure. That's a whoopsie. Alright, so they're not playing around sneak attacked in Emrakul. I really feel like they should be attacking in with that Hullbreacher, because if we trade Hullbreachers, they have Sai on board that can start drawing cards by sacrificing all these treasures. Okay, now they are playing around sneak attacked in Emrakul. Hello, I would like to draw Emrakul or Grizzlebrand and hardcast it. Now I think the other Thopter was supposed to attack. Are we just memeing this and like making as many treasures as I can? No. Now I'll hold this one, because if they ever decide that they want to be the beatdown and attack with Hullbreacher, I can Daze Undoing and draw 7. Alright. I want this Emrakul to happen so badly, YouTube. So badly. Alright. Didn't really do anything. Notably, I don't really want to cast these Daze Undoings anymore, because they will shuffle these other cards that are in my hand back into my deck and give me fewer shots at hitting Emrakul or Grizzlebrand. Palace on 1 here is good. I think I'm going to give the opponent the old pump fake on their turn. Put some fear in them. Alright, my opponent gets a very large treasure. 22-22. I can make their construct a little bit bigger before this game ends. They can spin the wheel with Urza a couple of times. It is currently unclear whether or not my Emrakul is good enough anymore. Unlucky. Another show and tell. All right. Death. I guess technically I could have attacked the Hullbreacher into their board to see if they blocked it, but I think they just take the damage. And then Days Undoing, see if I hit a Grizzlebrand, which can like block the construct on their turn. I guess I shuffle things in, so I can't see exactly what I would have gotten. All right, I don't want to be playing Days Undoing against this deck, so I'm going to start by boarding those out. I want Pyroblasts, Red Elemental Blasts, and Abrades. Pyroclasm. Pyroclasm is worth considering, but I think on the wrong side of playability. I think this is what I'm going to do. There's a world where I do consider Arcane Artisan or Progenitus or even Grafdigger's Cage, but I think I like this. This is a turn 2 show and tell for Grizzlebrand. We keep those. Not the most broken start in the world, but hopefully a Grizzlebrand activation puts me into an okay enough place where I can do the thing. And all right, don't force a will me, Gandalf. Don't do it. Because I'm pretty naked here if this does not resolve. I pick Grizzlebrand! Fuck! Alright. Like, can't even be mad. Let's see if a 7/7 lifelinker is good. Excuse me. Excuse me. I just got a huge load of luck stuck in my mouth. Unless my opponent has a spirit guide, this is fine. I'm gonna go ahead and fetch pre-combat and cast this Ponder. I'd like to look for a Force of Will. None of those cards are Force of Will, which is one of the only things that I care about having right now. I don't think I'm gonna get, like, Surgical Extracted or anything, so... And even if I did, like, when I have a Grizzlebrand in play, I don't think that makes a lot of sense. There's a world where I'm not supposed to play the land pre-drawing 7, so that if I draw Ancient Tomb plus double Lotus Petal or double Spirit Guide, I have better lines available to me. There's a Force of Will. Nice. Nice. What a roller coaster of emotion that game was. Do I want Arcane Artisan on the draw? On the draw, Chalice of the Void is slightly more likely to resolve. Similarly, do I want Pyroclasm since it cleans up both Psi and Hullbreacher? What's Emery's toughness? I think it's a 1-3. Ooh, Emery is a 1-2. Maybe Pyroclasm is actually good. Awkward that it hits my own Hullbreachers. Let's shave a little mana for a little more disruption. Not 100% sure. That's correct. So this says turn 2 Show and Tell if I draw a creature, or just turn 2 Hullbreacher. I don't have cantrips. The things that make this good are 8 cantrips plus, I would say 4 soul lands make this good. Plus 4 Grizzlebrands, plus 4 Emrakuls. That's actually a pretty large portion of my deck. This is a superb 6-card hand. But I don't know that I'm supposed to keep this on 7. Hashtag rewarded. We'll put back 1 Ancient Tomb, and then have turn 2 Show and Tell for Grizzlebrand. With the ability to Pyroclasm away a Hullbreacher that's put in. Oh yeah, my opponent says, Sneak and Show with Hullbreacher is very interesting. I mean, obviously I agree, I'm playing it. Also the Void resolves. I don't know if this deck's good, but it is interesting. Alternate Art Karn. Nice. The Echo is in my opponent's graveyard. which is extremely awkward for me because they do have 3 mana to cast that next turn. Alright, in the theoretical world where my opponent does cast Echo, what do I want to have in play? I think it's Ancient Tomb, so they have the greatest ability to either cast Show and Tell or Hullbreacher. This does mean, though, that if my opponent just plays to the board, I have to take 2 in order to Pyroclasm. But I think there's very few things that could make me want to not just do something big and dumb here. Alright. We get like an Ensnaring Bridge. Oh, Lion's Eye Diamond. Alright, so they're gonna go ahead and go for the draw 7 here. Should tap Emery and get LED back before they do that. Good. Alright, so I have the ability to cast a Hullbreacher on my opponent's next turn. And maybe pressure and kill Karn. Means I'm not dead to rights to the Mycosynth Lattice lock. My Pyroclasms that I have in hand are now very awkward, though. I don't have red mana to cast them. That card is also quite awkward, but it's okay. That is something that I will be glad to have access to if things go a little weird. We'll see if my opponent just straight away goes for Mycosynth Lattice. They're straight away going for it. If they have Force of Will backup, they win here. GG's, opponent. GG's. Alright, so that was a very unimpressive 1-4 with this deck. So I don't really like this deck. I don't feel like it's a particularly good Hullbreacher deck. In Game 1 scenarios, Hullbreacher is the only creature that your opponents can usually point removal at, so it's not super likely to survive. And the Days Undoing scenarios were pretty darn few and far between over the course of this league. Like we like technically assembled it in the last round there, but not really because like our opponent also had their own Hullbreacher. So the Hullbreacher Days Undoing side of the deck was not particularly strong here, and the Show and Tell / Sneak Attack side was. Like, I was happy to have access to Hullbreacher as a card, like as an alternative 3 mana play. That was totally fine. But I think the Days Undoing Hullbreacher things would have been better off being, you know, Impulses or Cunning Wishes or Omnisciences or what have you to just like more consistently try to execute my primary game plan. Sneak and Show by its nature is an A plus B combo deck where you have two different cards that are A and two different cards that are B, sometimes three if you're also playing Omniscience. And instead of leaning heavier into that, we entered in a second A plus B combo deck where Days Undoing is usually pretty weak on its own, and Hullbreacher is a reasonable Magic card on its own. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I certainly enjoyed the last round there. That was super cool. If you've made it this far in the video, please consider liking if you haven't already. And if you're watching my videos this far, maybe you should be subscribed if you're not already. Have a great rest of the day, folks. See you again soon.